ITV Central Sports Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
Well, let's start with the football show. I mean, a team we've not spoken about so much so far this season. Birmingham City, their opponents this weekend, may have been tipped by many at the start of the season as one of the favourites. But so far, Fulham's campaign in the Championship has been, well, pretty much near dreadful. Birmingham, meanwhile, have been hit with injuries and have won only one game so far this season. And they're desperate to climb the table, as James Clark reports.
They may have only won a handful of home matches since the beginning of last season, but Birmingham City's pitch looks as good as ever. And this weekend they welcome Fulham, a team with Premier League status since the early 2000s, until that came to an end last season. They've suffered a dreadful start to life in the Championship. Their manager was sacked last week, and they lie rock bottom of the table.
We know they're in a false position. You look at the players they've got, experienced and youngsters. So we're under no illusions it's going to be a really tough match. I think the level of performance has been high. We've been unfortunate in games and we've shot ourselves in the foot in games, and we certainly could be sitting with another 6 to 8 points.
The Blues held their annual Macmillan Coffee afternoon yesterday. Among those enjoying the sweet treats on offer was Birmingham City legend Trevor Francis.
They've not made a great start, but then I didn't expect too much. You know, it's a difficult time for the football club and especially for the manager Lee Clark. But I'm hoping that we start to improve, and why not on Saturday with a win against Fulham?
Yeah, definitely out for Saturday. Good opportunity for us to put a last couple of poor performances at home behind us and get a vital 3 points.
It's been 3 years since these two sides met, but Birmingham are confident of their chances, and a win at home against the newly relegated side would surely be the icing on the cake.
It's those kind of games that can do a huge amount for confidence if you get the 3 points, because they both need it so much. Now, as Sam alluded to, Britain's most successful Olympian ever was in the Midlands today. So Chris Hoy launched the cycle show at the NEC and spoke of his excitement at the region getting its own indoor velodrome. Plus, of course, there's the latest kit for one of the fastest growing sports in the country.
One show, 2 wheels, 3 days and 25,000 visitors. The cycle show has returned to the NEC near Birmingham for its 4th consecutive year. This time it's bigger than ever, with 250 stalls and a few surprises thrown in. Stars from the world of cycling were on hand too. Chris Boardman won an Olympic gold medal in 1992 and was a regular on the Tour de France. He now splits his time working on his own range of bikes, whilst also campaigning to improve safety for everyday cyclists on Britain's roads. He points towards the Tour of Britain, which this year travelled through Worcestershire, as an example of why better safety would lead to more people switching to 2 wheels.
They're now bolting on mass participation rides when they go to the major cities. So I rode the one in London and the one at the start in Liverpool with my kids and my wife, and there was 9,000 people riding around on closed roads, and I think that's, for me, that's the link that we need to have.
From one Chris to another, this one is a Sir. Britain's most successful Olympian was promoting a sports nutrition brand. But I wanted to know his thoughts on the imminent completion of the Midlands' first velodrome in Derby.
Oh, it's fantastic news for the sport to have a new international standard velodrome in Derby. Just trying to reach out to all the different pockets of the population throughout the UK. We've obviously got one in Glasgow, Manchester, London, Newport, and now to have one in the Midlands is great too. So, you know, the key thing is as well, it's not just about elite performance, it's about opening cycling up to everybody.
Of course, for the 250 stall holders, this is a chance to get noticed in a growing industry.
And what's been your best seller then?
This one here, actually.
Oh, yeah.
This one's been amazing here at the show.
This business from Uttoxeter in Staffordshire sells something which is surprisingly hard to find: women's cycle wear.
It was born out of frustration for myself. I got into road cycling, I've been into mountain biking before, and I bought a fantastic female-specific bicycle. It was awesome. Cut to my geometry, amazing. I went to buy some kit to wear with it, and it was the most frustrating thing. Everything was just black or red or white, or a male's kit but in pink with flowers on it. And I just wanted something that was more colourful, more individual. So I set up Cycler to have a website, a boutique website.
Well, the popularity of this show, which is now in its biggest year to date, it gives a real sign of the increased interest in cycling in Britain. Just in the last year alone, there's been a 7% rise in those people getting on their bikes. So if you're after a new set of wheels, whether you want to spend hundreds or, as in the case of most of these, thousands, this could be a pretty good place to come. The show runs until Sunday. Yes, so if you want to buy a bike and you're extremely rich, pop along. To be fair, you can get more affordable bikes. We didn't feature many there, but there was some bikes about £200.
Well, give us an idea of the price ranges, because you said started at about £1,000.
The stall I was on there, they were sort of four-figure bikes, but there was a rally store, and they had one a couple £100 bike, and they had some. Their most expensive one was £5,000, so they're quite
£5,000
for a rally
for a bike.
Yeah,
that's more than my car's worth.
I know.
That's
but
ridiculous.
Yeah, you can literally spend whatever you want to on a bike.
I don't want to spend that.
No, you do not want to.
No, I don't want to.
Well, here's the reminder, and I like to tell everyone this story, and I told about 15 people this while I was there today. They were quite bored. The bike I ride quite a lot, is the one I got for my 16th birthday.
Really?
Which that's 10 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Steve, we're bored. Thank you.
There's been a lot of exciting bike chat in the office today. Wow.
Yeah,
anyway.
Thank goodness it's the weekend nearly.
Moving on.
Now, let's move on, exactly. A nursery worker from Cheltenham had the shock of her life when she found herself giving birth during her lunch break. Hannah Brown was just 7 months pregnant when she felt her baby arriving.
Yes, baby April was rushed to intensive care where she spent several weeks, but now she's back home with mum and dad. Ken Goodwin has the story.
Sound asleep, April is oblivious to her rather unconventional place of birth.
This is where it all happened. Thought I was going to the toilet, as you do, and I ended up having my baby girl in here.
April's early arrival was certainly unexpected. Her mother Hannah was working at the Treetops nursery in Cheltenham. She was 28 weeks pregnant.
My managers came running. I was like, I need an ambulance and I need my husband to get here smartish. And with that, we could hear the sirens come in, and April decided to whoosh out of me. That's the only way I can describe it. And she whooshed out with such force, her umbilical cord snaps. Her waters broke, and we both looked down and looked at each other, and it was one of those, right, okay. And I said, where is she? And we sort of looked around, and she was on the floor by Hannah's foot.
When was the bit when you discovered your daughter had been born in the toilet?
It was pretty much as I got to the hospital, because no one mentioned it on the phone. It's like, oh yeah, Hannah's had the baby, it's in the toilet.
The famous often get a blue plaque on the wall of their birthplace. April will also get one.
Hopefully she'll see the funny side of it, but I can see her being, oh mum, this story again, embarrassing her in front of her friends.
Ken Goodwin, ITV News, Cheltenham.
Wow, she looks happy enough now.
She certainly does, and that's a better story than Steve's cycling one, isn't it?
It's more interesting than lots of the cycling chat today.
Yeah, wow, well done, Mum.
Yes, brilliant stuff, well done. Right, as we approach the weekend, as ever, let's have a look at the forecast, see how the weather is fixed. With all the details for us, here's Janelle.
Hello, it's been a very pleasant day and we're expecting a pleasant evening and sunset to come, something that looks probably pretty similar to this. Thank you very much, Ian McDonald, for the picture taken in Warwick from your back garden. But we are going to see some cloud this weekend as well as seeing some sunshine. It's really coming across the south of the UK and it's going to be affecting us here in the West Midlands too, mainly on Saturday afternoon. But back to this evening, as I mentioned, we should see a fairly decent sunset because of the clearing skies and patchy cloud. But that also means temperatures will fall away tonight, looking at lows of 6 Celsius in the north, in the south where we hold on to a bit of cloud, while temperatures should be just a touch milder. It does mean a bright start to the day tomorrow, but it will become increasingly cloudy, as I mentioned earlier. By the time we get into the afternoon properly, after a fairly bright start, it is a story of cloud with some bright spells, perhaps even a touch of patchy rain in the north. We're looking at highs of 19 Celsius on Saturday. So it will actually feel fairly decent. As we go into Sunday, if you are taking part in the run for home, well, it's actually a pretty good day for it. It will start cloudy, but it will become increasingly sunny through the day. Hopefully not too hot for all of you in your fancy dress. It's a decent start to next week too, but back to tonight. Should be a fairly decent sunset, but it's going to be quite cool overnight.
Now, before we go, let's bring you up to date with the main news story today, and that is that within the past hour, Midlands MPs have joined an overwhelming vote in favour of Britain joining in airstrikes on Islamist extremists in Iraq. The Prime Minister had recalled Parliament for an emergency debate following a request for help from the Iraqi government.
Well, 6 RAF Tornado jets are on standby. Let's join our political correspondent Alison Mackenzie for the latest from Westminster for us this evening. So, Alison, are we at war?
Well, it depends on your interpretation of the mission now that will proceed. It's limited airstrikes only, no boots on the ground. That the Prime Minister is saying that action can be justified because of the threat to British people. But one of those expressing concern on his feet today to him was the veteran Bolsover MP Dennis Skinner.
2 questions he's not put to himself. How long will this war last, and when will mission creep start?
Well, let me answer that very directly. This is going to be a mission that will take not just months, but years.
It was a thumping majority in favour of airstrikes. We spoke to the Northampton MP, a Conservative MP, Brian Billy, outside the chamber today, and he is sceptical.
I would like to know where we think it's going to end up. I would like to know how we think this is going to impact upon Syria, how we think it's going to impact upon the Kurds, what it's going to do to help create a nation which has the support of all the people in Iraq.
An historic day, a key vote in favour, but one they say is legal, can be justified, and airstrikes could begin tonight.
Alison, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. And indeed, there are more details on this story on the national and international news, which follows us very shortly.
That is it from us for tonight, though. Whatever you're doing, do have a great weekend. We are back next week. Bulletins throughout the weekend, of course, as well. From the team here, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Back to war in Iraq. British jets are set to bomb IS militants within hours.
The eyes to the right, 524. The nose to the left, 43.
MPs gave overwhelming support to join coalition airstrikes in Iraq, though not yet in Syria.
About psychopathic terrorists that are trying to kill us, and we do have to realise that whether we like it or not, they have already declared war on us.
RAF air crews in Cyprus are tonight poised to put their lives on the line to help defeat the terrorists.
Also tonight, no remorse and no apology as Dave Lee Travis escapes jail for indecent assault.
And Nigel Farage's pitch for power as UKIP promised tax cuts at their annual conference.
This is ITV News at 6:30 with Mark Austin and Charlene White.
Good evening. RAF Tornado air crews are tonight preparing to launch their first attacks on so-called Islamic State militants in Iraq. Just over an hour ago, Parliament voted overwhelmingly to join the fight against what the Prime Minister calls a brutal terrorist organisation that is a clear threat to the UK.
Mr Cameron warned the mission could take years, but for now, British planes will not bomb targets in Syria, and the government insists there will be no combat troops on the ground. Our political editor Tom Bradby reports on the vote which sent the UK to war.